We're live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Now, India's Voice to the World. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next hour. Trump and Netanyahu agree on new 20-point Gaza peace plan. Palestinian Authority, EU and Arab states welcome plan. Hamas yet to respond. Gaza peace plans proposes ceasefire, hostage release and phased Israeli withdrawal, offers amnesty for Hamas members who surrender, Gaza to be governed on interim basis by a panel headed by Trump. Netanyahu expresses deep regret over Doha attack in three-way call hosted by Trump with Qatar's Amir, claims Israel was targeting terrorists, vows Israel will not conduct such an attack again. Federal shutdown looms in the U.S. after Trump's talks with Democrats fail to yield any breakthrough. Trump administration threatens mass firings of federal workers with a bill to fund federal ops not passed by midnight. And in a historic series win, Nepal registers first ever win against a full member West Indies, claims the three-match T20 series with a game to spare. And on to the details now. After days of speculation, the White House on Monday released a 20-point plan for ending the nearly two-year conflict in Gaza, releasing hostages held by Hamas and outlining the Palestinian enclave's future. Well, the White House released a 20-point document that called for an immediate ceasefire, an exchange of hostages held by Hamas for Palestinian prisoners held by Israel, a staged Israeli withdrawal from Gaza, Hamas disarmament, and a transitional government led by an international body. The White House peace plan for Gaza proposes an immediate end to the conflict between Israel and Hamas, while pointedly excluding the Palestinian militant group from any future governing rule. Well, Hamas is yet to comment in depth, saying the group had yet to receive the plan. Also assuming both sides agree to a detailed list of conditions, then the fighting will be accompanied by the release of all Israeli hostages, both dead and alive, within 72 hours of Israel publicly accepting the deal. In return for the release of hostages, Israel would release 250 Palestinians currently serving life sentences and 1,700 Palestinians in Gaza detained since the conflict started. For every Israeli hostage whose remains are released, Israel will release the remains of 15 deceased Palestinians. And U.S. President Donald Trump said on Monday that it is time for Palestinian militant group Hamas to accept the 20-point peace proposal that he agreed to with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu regarding the future of Gaza. Speaking at a joint press conference with Netanyahu, Trump said that Netanyahu had agreed to back the U.S.-sponsored Gaza peace proposal. Trump said they were beyond very close to forging an elusive peace deal and that he hoped Hamas militants would also accept it.
Today is a historic day for peace, and Prime Minister Netanyahu and I have just concluded an important meeting on many vital issues, including Iran, trade, the expansion of the Abraham Accords, and most importantly, we discussed how to end the war in Gaza, but it's just a part of the bigger picture, which is peace in the Middle East, and let's call it eternal peace in the Middle East. I also want to thank Prime Minister Netanyahu for agreeing to the plan and for trusting that if we work together, we can bring an end to the death and destruction that we've seen for so many years, decades, even centuries, and begin a new chapter of security, peace, and prosperity for the entire region.
Meanwhile, Netanyahu endorsed Trump's proposal to end the conflict in Gaza, describing it as a critical step towards peace in the Middle East. Netanyahu added that further withdrawals could be linked to the extent of disarmament and demilitarization, but Israel would maintain a security perimeter indefinitely. Netanyahu warned that if Hamas rejected the plan, Israel would act independently to achieve its goals.
I believe that today we're taking a critical step towards both ending the war in Gaza and setting the stage for dramatically advancing peace in the Middle East, and I think beyond the Middle East, in very important Muslim countries. I support your plan to end the war in Gaza, which achieves our war aims. It will bring back to Israel all our hostages, dismantle Hamas's military capabilities, end its political rule, and ensure that Gaza never again poses a threat to Israel.
While key Muslim nations on Monday lent their weight to backing a plan by U.S. President Donald Trump to end the conflict in Gaza, even as some Palestinians decried the proposal as a farce. Now, 8 Arab or Muslim-majority nations in a joint statement welcomed the role of President Trump and his efforts aimed at ending the conflict in Gaza. The countries include Egypt, Jordan, the United Arab Emirates and Turkey. Also signing the statement were Qatar and Saudi Arabia. Indonesia and Pakistan also joined the statement. Indonesia has offered troops as part of a future Gaza force. French President Emmanuel Macron hailed Trump's commitment to ending the conflict in Gaza. Macron also called on Israel to commit resolutely to it. Now, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer's office said the UK strongly supported Trump's efforts to end the fighting. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni's government also hailed Trump's diplomacy. In a statement, it called on all sides to seize this opportunity and accept the plan. German Foreign Minister Johann Wadephul said the Trump plan offers a unique opportunity to end the terrible conflict in Gaza. And Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu apologized to Qatar for strikes against Hamas in Doha. Well, Netanyahu, in a trilateral phone call hosted by U.S. President Trump, expressed a deep regret to Qatar Prime Minister Al Thani over Israel's missile strike against Hamas targets in Doha. Netanyahu admitted violation of Qatari sovereignty and affirmed that Israel will not conduct such an attack again in the future.
I said to the Prime Minister of Qatar, Israel was targeting terrorists, wasn't targeting Qatar. And of course, we regretted the loss of the Qatari citizens, wasn't our target.
While during the call, Trump expressed his desire to improve Israeli-Qatar relations. The leaders accepted President Trump's proposal to establish a trilateral mechanism to facilitate a dialogue between the nations. Also, Qatar Prime Minister welcomed these assurances and emphasized Qatar's readiness to continue contributing meaningfully to regional security efforts. And moving on, federal shutdown looms in the United States after Trump's talks with Democrats failed to yield any breakthrough on Monday. Well, U.S. President Trump met with top Democratic and Republican congressional leaders in a last-ditch effort to prevent a shutdown before an October 1st deadline. Now, the two sides left no closer to resolving Democrats' demands to extend healthcare subsidies and reverse Medicaid funding cuts included in Trump's signature tax legislation passed earlier this year. Also, the Senate is expected to vote on the House-passed bill to extend government funding on Tuesday ahead of the 12:01 a.m. Wednesday deadline to avert a shutdown. Also, the bill would keep the government open for another 7 weeks while Congress finishes its annual spending bills. Despite the Republican majority in the Senate, GOP leaders need to at least 8 Democrats to vote for any funding measure to overcome procedural obstacles and opposition from at least 1 Republican Senator, Rand Paul of Kentucky. Well, a shutdown would delay release of key economic indicators, including the monthly employment report scheduled to be released on Friday, and at least temporarily furlough hundreds of thousands of federal workers while other government employees are forced to work without pay to continue essential services. Now, Vice President J.D. Vance, after a White House meeting with congressional leadership on Monday, said he thought the U.S. government would shut down due to lack of agreement between the Republicans and Democrats.
Well, first of all, we have to keep essential services functioning as well as possible if the Democrats shut down the government, and Russ has been tasked with making sure that's possible. We have disagreements about tax policy, but you don't shut that government down. We have disagreements about health care policy, but you don't shut the government down. You don't use your policy disagreements as leverage to not pay our troops, to not have essential services of government actually function. You don't say the fact that you disagree about a particular tax provision is an excuse for shutting down the people's government and all the essential services that come along with it.
Well, President Trump shared an AI-generated video on Truth Social mocking the Democrats' congressional leaders hours after he met with them in negotiations to avert a government shutdown. The video, which fabricated the voice of Senator Chuck Schumer at a news conference on Monday afternoon, accuses Democrats of trying to give free health care to undocumented immigrants to gain their support. In the video, the Democrats' House Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who is black, is pictured with a mustache and wearing a sombrero. Also, the U.S. President shared a video on Saturday that showed him speaking from the Oval Office about a historic new healthcare system, but the video and announcement weren't real, and the post was deleted from Trump's Truth Social account just 12 hours later. The deepfake video posted on Saturday, the U.S. President's Truth Social account was styled as a Fox News segment and featured his daughter-in-law, Lara Trump, promoting the White House's launch of a historic new healthcare system. The phony clip shows Trump announcing that every American will soon receive their own MedBed cards. Well, MedBed, tied to the QAnon conspiracy movement, is an imaginary medical device equipped with futuristic technology that adherents say can cure any ailment from asthma to cancer. It's not clear where exactly the video originated. Also, U.S. President Donald Trump said on Monday he would impose a 100% tariff on all foreign-made movies, an unprecedented move that threatens to upend Hollywood's global business model. Now, the step signals Trump's willingness to extend protectionist trade policies into cultural industries, raising uncertainty for studios that depend heavily on international box office revenue and cross-border co-productions. Trump announced the measure in a post on his Truth Social platform, claiming U.S. movie making is losing ground to international competition. The president had first floated the idea of a movie tariff in May, but offered very little details, leaving entertainment executives unsure whether it would apply to specific countries or all imports. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Thousands protest in Madagascar's capital over power and water outages, clashing with the police as calls for president's resignation grow. Wildfires ravage one-third of Namibia's Etosha National Park, prompting military deployment. And the first major European exhibition exclusively devoted to the work of Virgil Abloh opens in Paris.
Welcome to DD India, where a billion voices unite, connecting viewers to the stories that matter. India is not just another news channel. It's the international channel that puts the spotlight on the global south, bringing you stories from the heart of emerging economies, dynamic cultures, and transformative voices. As the international news channel of India's public broadcaster Prasar Bharati, DD India delivers high-quality content from every corner of the globe, focusing on the stories that shape our future. We don't just report news. We connect you to India's voice in the global narrative. From current affairs to culture, from economic growth to sustainable development and the ever-evolving world order, DD India gives you a comprehensive view of the world around us. Stay connected, stay informed, and embrace the stories that shape our lives. DD India. India's voice to the world.
Welcome to Lakshadweep, the land of 100,000 islands, the aquatic wonderland of India, an archipelago of spectacular marine gems, colorful coral and crystal clear lagoons.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News now. Lipak Shukran. And moving on, Russia said on Monday that its military was analyzing whether or not the United States would supply Tomahawk cruise missiles to Ukraine for strikes deep into Russia. Well, Russian officials say it could trigger a steep escalation. Tomahawks have a range of 2,500 kilometers, easily far enough to hit Moscow and most of Europe and Russia if fired from Ukraine. For the Kremlin, the escalatory risk of U.S. involvement in firing such missiles deep into Russia are clear. Putin has previously warned that Russia reserves the right to strike at military installations in countries that let Ukraine use their missiles to hit Russia. Though President Trump has not made a final decision yet, but the comments come one day after U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance said that Washington was considering a Ukrainian request to obtain Tomahawks.
Tomahawks, it's something the president's going to make the final determination on. What the president is going to do is what's in the best interest of the United States of America. That's the driving light between his foreign policy decisions, between his defense policy decisions, and that will be the same heuristic that we apply to how we answer this question about Tomahawks. I'll let the president speak to it.
Well, the Michigan's governor on Monday asked Americans to lower the temperature after the latest violence in her state as authorities search for a motive in a Mormon church attack the day before. According to the police, the suspect, identified as Thomas Jacob Sanford, 40, from the nearby town of Burton, was shot dead in a parking lot outside the building about 8 minutes after the carnage began. Now, in a press conference, Governor Whitmer said that at this juncture, speculation is unhelpful and it can be downright dangerous.
Caution everyone. While we are working hard, while the good men and women who are working hard are doing so with due diligence, at this juncture, speculation is unhelpful and it can be downright dangerous. So, just ask that people lower the temperature of rhetoric. Keep your loved ones close and keep this community close to your hearts.
Well, Madagascar's President Andry Rajoelina on Monday sacked his government following days of deadly unrest, which the United Nations said has left at least 22 people dead. Police have responded with a heavy hand, firing tear gas and rubber bullets to disperse the crowds as they have gathered for a third round of youth-led protest against water and power cuts, with many calling for the president's resignation. Now, the three-day demonstrations inspired by Gen Z protest in Kenya and Nepal represent the largest protest Madagascar has seen in years. In a television address, Madagascar President Andry Rajoelina said he had decided to terminate the functions of the Prime Minister and as well as the government.
In accordance with Article 54 of the Constitution, I have today taken the decision to dismiss the Prime Minister and dissolve his government. Pending the appointment of the new government, the current government team will continue to serve on an interim basis and handle day-to-day affairs until a new government is appointed.
The former Prime Minister of South Korea, Han Duck-soo, on Tuesday attended the first hearing of his trial on charges of abetting former President Yoon Suk-yeol's failed imposition of martial law. Han has been indicted on charges of abetting the ringleader of an insurrection in connection with martial law imposition in December, perjury and falsifying official documents, among other offences. Han was one of the attendees at a cabinet meeting held shortly before Yoon declared martial law that day. In addition to abetting the martial law imposition, Han's indictment accuses him of drafting a revised proclamation after December 3rd with the aim of enhancing the legitimacy of the decree and later destroying it. He also stands accused of lying under oath at the Constitutional Court in the National Assembly that he was not aware Yoon had given him a copy of the martial law declaration until after the decree was lifted. And moving on, North Korea said that it will never give up its nuclear program. Addressing the United Nations General Assembly on Monday, the country's Vice Foreign Minister, Kim Son-gyong, described it as a tantamount to demanding it to surrender sovereignty and right to existence. Now, it was the first time North Korea dispatched an official from Pyongyang to address the annual gathering of world leaders for the General Assembly since the country's foreign minister traveled to New York in 2018. Kim's imposition of denuclearization of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea is tantamount to demanding it to surrender sovereignty and right to existence and violate the Constitution. Also, U.S. President Donald Trump said last month that he wanted to meet North Korean leader Kim Jong-un this year. And South Korea and the United States will meet for the first working group discussion on visa systems for Korean companies operating in the U.S. on Tuesday. Well, the talks are designed to improve U.S. visa programs for South Korean businesses there in the aftermath of a massive raid that led to the arrest of hundreds of South Korean workers at the Hyundai motor battery facility under construction in Georgia earlier this month. Now, South Korea's top national security advisor said on Monday the country would resolve the visa issues as quickly as possible to create a better environment for Korean investments in the United States. South Korean companies have become major investors in the U.S., building factories that often require highly technical skill sets that are not easy to find in the United States. And British Finance Minister Rachel Reeves gave a strong speech at the Labour Party's annual conference, warning that the United Kingdom could lose market trust if government spending goes out of control. Speaking ahead of the upcoming November budget, Reeves emphasised that market confidence would be lost immediately if spending spiralled beyond control.
When spending gets out of control, when market confidence is lost, that doesn't just show up in some OBR report and some difficult headlines a few months later. It is felt immediately in the growing cost of essentials and rising interest rates. And let me tell you, there is nothing progressive, nothing Labour, about government using 1 in every £10 of public money it spends on financing debt to interest.
Well, U.S. President Donald Trump said on Monday he was slapping 10% tariffs on imported timber and lumber and 25% duties on imported kitchen cabinets, bathroom vanities and upholstered furniture, continuing his tariff assault on global trading partners. Well, Trump signed a presidential proclamation laying out his argument that timber, lumber and furniture imports are eroding U.S. national security to justify the new duties under Section 232 of the Trade Act of 1974. Now, the proclamation said the tariff rates would start on October 14th, but added that duties will increase on January 1st to 30% for upholstered wooden products and to 50% for kitchen cabinets and vanities imported from countries that fail to reach an agreement with the United States. Now, the action is the first in 3 sectors that Trump said last week would get steep new duties as early as October 1st, including patented pharmaceutical imports and heavy truck imports. But Monday's proclamation sets the start of the lumber and furniture duties 2 weeks later at 12:01 a.m. EDT, 04:01 GMT on October 14th. And some global weather updates now. First up from India, the Indian Meteorological Department has forecasted continued heavy rainfall with orange and yellow alert across several parts of the country for the next 2 to 3 days. As per the IMD, orange alert has been issued for Saurashtra and Kutch as they are likely to witness heavy rain with thunderstorms and gusty winds expected. Gujarat witnessed heavy to extremely heavy rains on Monday with several districts placed under red and orange alerts by the Indian Meteorological Department. Now, the Met Department issued yellow alerts across Maharashtra for the next few days, predicting light to moderate rain or thunderstorms in many places with heavy showers likely over Konkan, Goa and Madhya Maharashtra. And in Vietnam, at least 13 people have died after heavy rain and strong winds from the former typhoon Boaloi flooded roads, knocked off roofs in central region before it weakened to a storm. Now, according to the National Weather Agency, Boaloi weakened into a depression heading for loss after having made landfall early on Monday and had whipped up waves as much as 8-meter high as it moved along the northern central coast. Now, among the missing are the fishermen whose boats were washed away off the province of Quang Tri, while another fishing boat lost contact, the government's disaster management agency said. Meanwhile, workers were seen on the streets cutting down large trees that blocked traffic, while locals began the cleanup after assessing the damages. Also, heavy rain swamped streets in Spain's Zaragoza and Valencia region on Monday, forcing emergency services to rescue dozens of people. The eastern provinces of Valencia, Tarragona and Castellon are on red alert for heavy rains, with the National Weather Agency warning of extraordinary danger. While the cleanup of mud and debris left by the heavy downpour started mid-overnight, and residents said they had been terrified by the strength of the storm, as it comes almost a year after floods in the Valencia region killed more than 230 people. Well, wildfires have destroyed about a third of Namibia's Etosha National Park, a roughly 20,000 square kilometre tourist destination known for its wildlife, the presidency said. According to the authorities, the wildfires began a week ago in the southwestern part of the park and is thought to have been caused by suspected charcoal production activity on bordering commercial farms. The wildfires forced the government to deploy 500 soldiers on Sunday to help contain the fire believed to have started at a charcoal production site. The Environment Ministry had said earlier that at least 9 antelopes had been killed in the blaze, while the Prime Minister said an elephant had also died. And Paris streets echoed with chants for climate justice as around 700 demonstrators marched through the city. Carrying banners and raising slogans, protesters demanded urgent action to put people and planet at the center of the politics. Democrats stressed that our only option is to build a social project that places social, ecological and democratic issues at the heart of every political decision. The march reflected growing public pressure on governments to act decisively against climate change. And now we'll take a look at other stories making news around the world. A retrospective on designer Virgil Abloh opened in Paris on Tuesday. Titled Virgil Abloh: The Codes, the exhibition showcases his work across 2 decades, highlighting his unique blend of fashion, art and architecture. The show runs alongside Paris Fashion Week and aims to celebrate Abloh's groundbreaking influence. A fishing competition took place in Turkey's Antalya''s Kakumulka district, attracting 250 amateur anglers. Participants set out on 75 boats into the Mediterranean Sea to compete over 2 days. Anglers aimed to catch the biggest and most fish, while undersized fish were released back to protect the ecosystem. Awards were presented to the winners at the event's closing ceremony. Morocco's financial capital, Casablanca, hosted a 10-kilometre race with over 10,000 runners from various age groups. The event drew a diverse crowd of participants and spectators, reflecting widespread interest in running and outdoor sports in the city. The event showcased Casablanca's reputation as a major sports destination, featuring strong competition, great organisation and an energetic atmosphere. And still to come in DD India News Hour. India slams the shameful vandalism of Mahatma Gandhi's statue in London ahead of International Day of Non-Violence. India's Culture Minister Gajendra Singh Shekhawat leads at UNESCO's Mondial Cult Conference in Barcelona. And Telangana's Batukama Festival sets 2 Guinness World Records with vibrant dance and community celebration.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Johar. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Trump and Netanyahu agree on new 20-point Gaza peace plan. Palestinian Authority, EU and Arab states welcome plan. Hamas yet to respond. Gaza peace plans proposes ceasefire, hostage release and phased Israeli withdrawal, offers amnesty for Hamas members who surrender, Gaza to be governed on interim basis by a panel headed by Trump. Netanyahu expresses deep regret over the Doha attack in 3-way call hosted by Trump with Qatar's Amir, claims Israel was targeting terrorists, vows Israel will not conduct such an attack again. Federal shutdown looms in the U.S. after Trump's talks with Democrats failed to yield any breakthrough. Trump administration threatens mass firings of federal workers if the bill to fund federal ops not passed by midnight. And in a historic series win, Nepal registers first ever win against a full member West Indies, claims the 3-match T20 series with a game to spare. And moving on, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar concluded the high-level week of the 80th anniversary of United Nations General Assembly in New York. The last meeting that Jaishankar held on the sidelines was with Canadian counterpart Anita Anand. The minister termed the appointment of envoys to Delhi and Ottawa as a welcome step to rebuild ties between the two countries. He added that he looks forward to welcoming FM Anand in India. At last, Jaishankar, along with the entire Indian delegation that attended UNGA 80 in New York, posed for a picture alongside the Mahatma Gandhi bust at the UN headquarters. Among the team were Indian envoy to UN P. Parvataneni Harish, Secretary West C.B. George, Secretary E.R. Sudhakar Dalela, India's Deputy Envoy to UN in New York Yojana Patel, and MEA's Joint Secretary UNES Aquino Vimal. And India and the European Union will hold the next round of negotiations for a draft free trade agreement in Brussels from October 6th to 10th. India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal had last week said that two sides are determined to work for a balanced and mutually beneficial FTA. Now, the minister had also expressed India is fast becoming a key engine of the global economy and that a strong economic partnership with India will add significant value to the European Union, just as Europe's technology and scale will benefit India's growth story. Well, India and the EU held the 13th round of trade talks in September with the European Commissioner for Trade, the Agriculture Commissioner of the European Commission and Piyush Goyal in attendance. EU termed the partnership as consequential for the long haul that can facilitate each other's rise while managing our differences. And the High Commission of India in London has strongly condemned the shameful act of vandalism of the statue of Mahatma Gandhi at Tavistock Square and said it has taken this up strongly with the local authorities. Now taking to social media, High Commission of India in London said, and I quote, HCI is deeply saddened and strongly condemns the shameful act of vandalism of the statue of Mahatma Gandhi at Tavistock Square in London. This is not just vandalism but a violent attack on the idea of non-violence 3 days before the International Day of Non-Violence and on the legacy of the Mahatma. The Commission has taken this up strongly with local authorities for immediate action, and our team is already on site, coordinating with authorities to restore the statue to its original dignity. And India's Union Minister for Culture, Gajendra Singh Shekhawat, took centre stage at UNESCO's Mondial Cult Conference in Barcelona, where over 150 ministers of culture participated from all over the world. Earlier this year, India chaired the Asia-Pacific Regional Consultation, feeding regional priorities into Barcelona's negotiations. India is pushing for a stand-alone global goal for culture in the post-2030 UN agenda.
Mondial Cult is the world's biggest cultural policy conference. The 2025 edition brings together thousands of participants to set the global agenda for culture in the years ahead. The event highlighted cultural rights, the role of culture in peace and democracy, AI's impact on culture, education, and climate emergency. The Indian delegation put forth their agenda, highlighting collaboration on cultural heritage, digitalizing and advancing cooperation on heritage, and the creative sectors. The day concluded with a final document rather than a new declaration that all attending ministers are expected to adopt.
India and Spain have a wonderful tie-up relations, and that relations are so long, historical and bilateral also. And this year, very significantly, the coming year, 2026, India and Spain are taking out as a dual year to promote culture, to strengthen culture, to strengthen tourism, to strengthen bilateral relations in all formats. India and Spain enjoys a very good trade relationship also. And I wish that after 2026, when we are celebrating a dual year between both the countries, that is going to be very fruitful.
Gajendra Singh Shekhawat held a string of bilateral meetings with his counterparts from many nations from across the globe, including Iran, Norway, Greece, Colombia, Japan, and Spain.
I see for India and Spain, this visit is very important, for two reasons. First of all, Honorable Minister has come, for participation in a UNESCO-related conference, which is called as Mondial Cult, which happens, every 4 years. And Honorable Minister is also going to have, two interventions. First is, cultural rights and also, economy of culture. At the level of Honorable Prime Minister of India, His Excellency Shri Narendra Modi, and President of Government of Spain, it has been decided to celebrate the next year as India-Spain Year of Culture, Tourism and Artificial Intelligence.
The conference aims to review progress and forge common policies that embed culture with sustainable development. The day's agenda underscored India's push to scale cultural exchanges, museum and heritage collaboration, with Barcelona providing the stage for refreshed partnerships between India and Europe, Africa and Latin America. Atman Sandhu's report for DD India, Barcelona.
And India's Minister of Railways, Ashwini Vaishnaw, announced the launch of new railway projects between India and Bhutan on Monday. In a press conference, Minister Vaishnaw outlined key features of the project, which will extend from India's railway network. The initiative involves an investment of approximately 4,033 crore rupees for a rail line spanning 89 kilometers.
Project is basically connecting two very important cities of Bhutan. One is Gelefu, as Foreign Secretary shared with us. This is being developed as a mindfulness city. And second is Samse, which is an industrial city. The two projects will take off from the network of Indian Railways at Kokrajhar and Banarhat. The investment which is envisaged at this point of time is about 4,033 crore rupees, and the total length is about 90 kilometers, to be precise. 89 kilometers of railway network will be created.
Well, Minister Vaishnaw also emphasized the strong economic ties between India and Bhutan, noting that the new rail network will contribute to strengthening Bhutan's economy.
India is the largest trading partner of Bhutan, and most of the EXIM trade of Bhutan is done through Indian ports. Therefore, it becomes very important to have a good seamless rail connectivity for the Bhutanese economy to grow and for the people to have better ways of access to the global network. So that's why this entire project has been taken up. And Samse and Gelafu, they have very important significance in the way the Bhutanese economic growth is being planned.
Well, Foreign Secretary of India Vikram Misri also highlighted the relations between India and Bhutan, saying the relationship is that exceptional trust, mutual respect and understanding.
India and Bhutan share a relationship of exceptional trust, mutual respect and understanding. This is a relationship that is rooted in cultural and civilizational ties, extensive people-to-people relations, and our shared developmental and security interests. These ties are reflected in very close contact at the highest levels.
Well, the 42nd edition of the Indian Coast Guard Commanders Conference began in New Delhi on Monday. Spanning 3 days, this premier annual forum brings together the Coast Guard senior leadership to deliberate on strategic, operational and administrative imperatives amidst evolving geopolitical dynamics and maritime security challenges. Well, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has lauded the Coast Guard for its swift and decisive action during high-risk incidents, including the MV Wonhai 503 fire and the sinking of MV MSC ELSA-3, which showcased the force's operational readiness and environmental protection capabilities.
कोस्ट गार्ड ने मल्टी एजेंसी कोऑर्डिनेशन को एक स्ट्रेंथ के रूप में डेवलप किया है। स्टेट्स की सिविल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के साथ मिलकर आप जिस प्रकार सीमलेस काम करते हैं वो अपने आप में मैं मानता हूं कि यूनिक है। साथियों, आज मैरीटाइम सिक्योरिटी के परिप्रेक्ष्य में कोस्ट गार्ड सिर्फ सिक्योरिटी प्रोवाइडर ही नहीं है बल्कि एक फोर्स मल्टीप्लायर ये बन चुकी है। नेवी और अन्य एजेंसीज के साथ मिलकर आप जो सिनर्जी क्रिएट कर रहे हैं वही हमारी ओवरऑल नेशनल सिक्योरिटी आर्किटेक्चर को और भी मजबूत कर रही है।
And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. India's Union Civil Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu inaugurated the Udan Yatri Cafe at Vijayawada International Airport on Monday, aiming to offer affordable meals to passengers. Emphasizing that no traveller should go hungry, the minister highlighted positive feedback on food quality and pricing. In Jammu and Kashmir, a mega public outreach camp was organised at Sangirwani as part of the ongoing Seva Parva celebrations. The event brought a wide range of government departments and services under one roof to facilitate on-the-spot registrations, enrollment of beneficiaries, scheme consultations, grievance redressal and dissemination of information. Staying with Jammu and Kashmir, third Basholi festival began in the Kathua district with focus on the traditions of the Ramayana. The event features themed exhibitions, booklets, folk arts, national competitions in dance and singing, local sports and a host of art and cultural activities. The event will honour local folk artists, artisans and literatures. Telangana's Sarun Nagar Stadium came alive with colour, rhythm and jubilation on Monday as the government hosted a spectacular Bathukama festival that captured the essence of the state's rich culture and community spirit. The celebrations not only reflected tradition but also made history as the event achieved 2 Guinness World Records for the largest Bathukama and the largest gathering of singing and dance performances. 1,354 women from self-help group moved in perfect synchrony. Their graceful dance steps echoed the joyous rhythm of the festival. Still to come on DD India News Hour. Moody keeps India's Bar 3 rating unchanged with strong economy, stable outlook. In sports, India to face Sri Lanka in the opening match of the ICC Women's One Day International Cricket World Cup in Guwahati. And Mahashtami is being celebrated today with full devotion and fervour as part of the 9-day Shardiya Navratri festival.
गर फिरदौस बर्रुए ज़मी अस्त हमी अस्तो हमी अस्तो हमी अस्त Jammu and Kashmir, nature's finest works. A land of verdant valleys, pristine lakes, striking autumns, unforgettable majestic beauty. A place of unwavering devotion, wholehearted smiles, and warm hospitality. World famous for its exquisite artistry. Leader in diverse agricultural products. Heartland of winter sports. Jammu and Kashmir is vibrant, diverse, ambitious, future-focused, full of life. Welcome to heaven on earth.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and on to some business news now. Moody's ratings on Monday affirmed India's long-term local and foreign currency issuer ratings and the local currency senior unsecured rating at Bar 3 with a stable outlook on the back of robust economic growth and sound external position. The stable outlook and rating confirmation indicate India's continuing credit advantages, including its substantial and rapidly expanding economy, robust external standing and reliable domestic funding sources for ongoing budget deficits. Moody's also maintained India's short-term local currency rating at P3. The agency's latest review comes amid recent improvements in India's fiscal and economic outlook, following other global agencies' positive assessments, including S&P Global Ratings' upgrade of India's sovereign rating in August. Well, the Nasdaq Composite and S&P 500 regained some of its footing after a week on Monday as investors shrugged off the uncertainty of a potential U.S. government shutdown and hawkish remarks from a Federal Reserve official. One of this week's major focus points for Wall Street is a standoff between Republicans and Democrats over funding that has raised the prospect of a government shutdown beginning on Wednesday, the first day of the U.S. government's fiscal 2026. Now, the S&P 500 gained 0.26%, while the Nasdaq Composite gained 0.48%, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 0.15%. While oil prices tumbled on Monday as OPEC plans for another hike in oil output in November, the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies will likely approve another oil production increase of at least 137,000 barrels per day at its meeting this Sunday. 8 OPEC plus countries will hold an online meeting on October 5th to decide on November output. OPEC plus pumps about half the world's oil and includes OPEC plus Russia and other allies. Last Friday, prices rose to their highest since August 1st, hitting levels above $70 per barrel. And YouTube has agreed to pay $22 million to settle a lawful suit filed by President Donald Trump after it suspended his account over the January 6, 2021 attack on the Capitol. The online video platform is the latest big tech firm to settle with Trump after he went to court in July 2021 over his suspension. Now, major platforms removed Trump at the time due to concerns he would promote further violence, with claims that voter fraud caused his loss to former President Joe Biden in 2020. The 79-year-old Republican took social media companies and YouTube to court, claiming he was wrongfully censored. While you're watching DD India News, our time now for some sports news. India will chase history as they face Sri Lanka in the opening match of the ICC Women's One-Day International Cricket World Cup in Guwahati on Tuesday. Indians have an opportunity to break their trophy drought as they were runners-up in 2005 and 2017. The tournament, co-hosted by India and Sri Lanka, runs from 30th of September to the 2nd of November.
The 13th edition of the Women's One-Day International Cricket World Cup is set to kick off on 30th September with co-hosts India and Sri Lanka facing each other in the opener in Guwahati. India brim with confidence after a solid performance in the lead-up to the tournament. Recently, India gave Australia a tough fight. In the one-day series,
we have advantage of playing in home, but the amount of cricket we have played and the results we have got in last a couple of years, I think that shows we have a depth in our game, whether it's batting or bowling. We have improved a lot of areas, so I think chances are there, but I think tomorrow is our first game. Our main focus is on tomorrow's game and setting the tone for us. That is something we are really looking forward.
Though Sri Lanka lack match practice, they have played only 8 one-day internationals this year, losing 5 of them while 1 was washed out. But they can bounce back on the subcontinental pitches. This could be the last ODI World Cup for the team's captain and star player, Shamari Atapattu.
We are playing really good cricket last 12 months against some big teams. So yeah, India is like favorite in this World Cup definitely, because India hosts the World Cup and they know the condition and the ground support, spectators, so everything with them. But my plan was I want to play our best cricket in front of everyone.
A total of 35 ODIs have been played between the two teams, of which India has won 31, while Sri Lanka has won only 3. The Indian team reached the World Cup final in 2005 and 2017, but unfortunately lost on both the occasions. Meanwhile, the Sri Lankan team has never reached the semi-finals.
India has arrived at this World Cup with a dream in their hearts. The pressure is great, but the opportunity is even greater. They have to cover a long distance, and this match against Sri Lanka is their first step. With camera person Ashish Sharma, this is Suchitra reporting for DD India in Guwahati.
Well, India is hosting the World Para-Athletic Championship for the first time, and the event is witnessing participation from around 110 countries. DD India's Deepika had an exclusive conversation with Australia's Rhiannon Clark, who talked about her experience being in India.
And we have with us Clark from Australia. Clark, how was your event?
It was pretty cool. I really enjoyed racing on that track. It was a lot of fun. It was nice and warm out there. Yeah, it was so much fun.
Is this your first time in India?
It's actually my second time in India. I came for the Grand Prix back in March and I really enjoyed it then and I'm enjoying it now.
How are you finding the facilities here?
Perfect. I love this track. It is very nice. It's the perfect conditions of it and the warm-up track is also amazing.
And what is your next target now?
My next target is the 200 metres. I've got that in 2 days' time. I'm going to go out there and smash it and hopefully see I can run a PB.
All the very best to you.
Thank you.
And there you heard Clark and how excited and happy she is to be in India and participating at the World Para-Athletics Championship in New Delhi. This is Deepika reporting for DD India.
Well, the international players hailed the facilities provided by India for the mega event. The para-athletes praised the freshly laid track at New Delhi's Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium and also showed their love for Indian hospitality.
This is my 7th World Championships. I always get a real kick out of competing against the best in the world and testing my mettle. I thought I had a good start, good first 200. Would have liked to have had a bit more coming home, but I'm satisfied I left it all out on the track and that's all I can ask. So Our accommodation has been amazing. It's a nice fast track. Everybody's been super welcoming. Yeah, I've loved my time in India.
Yeah, great. This facility here is really great. We're staying in a really lovely hotel. Yeah, enjoying it so far.
Well, Nepal created history on Monday, beating West Indies by 19 runs in Sharjah for their first ever win against a full member across formats. Nepal, who are ranked 18th in the world, had never played a T20 series against a full member nation before this week, but have won the 3-match series with a game to spare. Now, Indies' total of 83 is the lowest a full member nation has scored against an associate, and a 90-run winning margin is also the biggest for an associate against a full member. It comes after West Indies Test team suffered a crushing defeat by Australia in July, being bowled out for just 27. The second lowest score in Test history and the worst since 1955. Nepal had beaten Afghanistan in a T20 international in 2014, but Afghanistan were an associate back then. And the 8th day of Navratri, also known as Maha Ashtami, is being observed across India with great fervour and festivities. Devotees offer prayers and worship Ma Mahagauri, an incarnation of Adi Shakti, symbolising purity, serenity and tranquility. On the 8th day of Shardiya Navratri 2025, devotees thronged the Mumbai Devi temple in Mumbai to offer their prayers and seek blessings. The Karibari Sobaj Welfare Sangha in West Bengal's Darjeeling has chosen a powerful theme for its Durga Puja Pandal this year. The committee's portrayal, titled China Hote Uma, draws attention to human trafficking of children and girls. The Durga Puja Pandal in Bihar's Patna has captured public attention this year with its powerful and patriotic theme based on the Pahalgam terror attack. Also, the festive spirit of Navratri has taken over Raipur's Mana area, where a stunning Akshardham-inspired Durga Puja Pandal has become the centre of attraction this year. Also, Durga Puja celebrations in Odisha's Mayurbhanj region is in full swing. The Takhatpur Pandal is offering a spiritual and culturally rich experience that stands out amid modern theme-based setups. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Nipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.